This was the real deal. The reality is our son shares 0% DNA with his father or with me. Not a single strand. And he is 100% our son. Not our adopted son. There's not an asterisk next to it. He is our son. We've spent the last few weeks chilling in Ephesians chapter 1, letting Paul answer the question, who are you? Before we ever get to a single instruction on how to behave. We've talked about being chosen. We've talked about being redeemed. Now we land on adopted. And there was something that I noticed while I was studying Ephesians, is that being chosen and being redeemed hit you as an individual. But once you're adopted, that one is the one that puts you in the family. That's the one where who you are turns into who are we? Can we talk about it? Hey y'all, I'm Senecca, and this is Exhaled Hope, where we have real conversations about faith in the middle of the mess. No hype, no guilt, no pretending we have it all together. Just truth that leaves us with real hope. So Ephesians 1:5 says, God predestined us for adoption as sons through Jesus Christ himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. While the word is the same as our son's adoption, and my adoption or our adoption into the family of God are not the same kind of adoption. When we adopted our son, he already existed. He had a whole family line before he ever got with us. He was carried by an amazing birth mother, and he belonged to an amazing biological family who loved him deeply. And that love and care has continued as he joined our family. But the joining of our family could not have happened without the help of legal process. However, that is not what happened to us with God. Paul spells it out earlier in Ephesians when he tells the Gentile believers that they were excluded, foreigners to the covenants. We talked about this, right? Without hope and without God in the world. That's not you belong to a different family. That's you didn't belong to a family at all. Before Christ, we weren't children who needed new paperwork. We were outsiders with no claim on the family to begin with. Adoption for us isn't a transfer. It's an inclusion into something we had no right to. And don't let those words just slip past you, because that is a heavy gift. This is one you need more than 2 arms of gratitude to hold when you realize we had no right to this gift. Paul's original audience would have understood adoption completely different than we do today. It wasn't rare in the ancient world. It was a known Roman custom, and it worked in a very specific way. When a Roman family adopted someone, especially as an adult, that person didn't just get a new last name. They became a full heir. All their old debts were gone, and they had new inheritance that was secured. Huh? You may have heard of a guy named Julius Caesar. Well, Julius adopted his great nephew, a young man who had no blood claim to Caesar's position, and he named him his heir. That young man went on to become Caesar Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. He wasn't Caesar's son by birth. He became Caesar's son by adoption, and that adoption is what carried him into everything that followed. Not his bloodline, the adoption. That's the picture Paul is handing his readers. When he tells them they've been adopted, he's not softening the word into something sentimental. He's telling them they've been made full heirs with the same inheritance rights as someone born into the family, regardless of the blood, regardless of biology, minus anything they could have contributed. And that's also why Paul can say in Romans 8, verses 15 through 17, that we didn't receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear. We received the spirit of adoption. And it's that spirit that lets us cry out, Abba, Father. Abba isn't a formal word. I know it sounds different to us because we don't use that in today's world, but trust me, it's intimate. It's the difference between calling someone father or mother and saying, Daddy, Mommy. You don't get to call somebody Abba from a distance. That is a family word. But don't get caught up on being adopted, because the truth is adoption does come with privileges, yet it also comes with responsibilities. You don't get to keep one and skip the other, because being adopted into God's family means you inherit something, yes, and it also means you're called to something, which is also exactly why Paul later in the letter in chapter 4, verse 1, he tells us to walk worthy of the calling we've received. Peep the order, y'all. He doesn't say, behave a certain way so you can earn the calling. He says, you already have the calling. Now walk like it's true. Child, Paul, he be getting with us. He be getting with us. Listen, that instruction only makes sense if you already know who you are. You cannot walk worthy of an identity you haven't accepted. You can wear the words chosen, adopted, redeemed like decoration, or you can let them be the thing that actually restructures how you move in your week. It's not a cute thing to put on and take back off. It's supposed to rearrange you. The reality is this: adoption sits in the crux of a present reality and a future promise. Paul talks about this later in Romans chapter 8, verse 23, where he says, we're eagerly waiting for the adoption. The full redemption is still ahead of us. You're living in a space between already secured and not fully realized. It's not a contradiction. It's just what it means to live inside of a promise bigger than the current moment. One more thing before I let y'all roll. I need you to know that this adoption only happens one way. When Paul is writing his letter, he doesn't give multiple doors to open. He says predestined through Jesus Christ, not through your good behavior, not through you cleaning yourself up first. This is only through Christ. That's the only route in. My mother used to always remind me that it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. And the reality is, you can be called, adopted, chosen, redeemed, all of it, and still walk around answering to old names, old versions of yourself somebody else handed you a long time ago. And so the next time you find yourself answering to an identity other than what God gave you, go back, roll through Ephesians again. But this time, read it different. Read it from the place of somebody who was known before the world was even formed. Somebody chosen regardless of their mess. Somebody who's been adopted into a family they share no blood with, by a God who shed his own blood to bring them in. Read it like somebody redeemed by that same blood. Read it as confirmation of who God already called you before your parents even had a name picked out for you. Hey, y'all. Thank you for joining for this week's episode and for journeying with me through this topic of identity. So please share it with anyone it can help, and join us on all our social media channels. We be having a good time over there. Remember to walk into every room like you're chosen, adopted, and redeemed, huh? And I'll see y'all next week. Peace.